Hi everyone, hope you are doing well. In this video, I'm gonna talk about what is OpenTelemetry and why it matters. Nowadays, applications have very complex architectures. They usually use layered architecture with microservices and sometimes distributed computing, and this makes it very complicated. So just for a second, imagine this application as a black box. If something goes wrong and, for example, we get this output from this application, can you really reason about what happened? Why did the request fail? Or is the server still up and running? Well, you might have some guesses, but you can't deterministically say what's going wrong. And that's because to answer these questions, we need to have some information about the internal state of the application. This is what's called observability. Observability is the ability to understand the internal state of a system by having some output signals. So these output signals are called telemetry data. Formal definition of telemetry data is a collection of signals that describe the internal state of a system so that system can be monitored, analyzed, and understood from the outside. So we have different types of telemetry data. Three main important types of telemetry data are metrics, which are a measurement captured at runtime. For example, can be the number of users logged into your system in last 24 hours. We have logs, which is a recording of an event. So basically every event that happens in your system or application, if you record it, it's a log. And we have traces, which is the path of a request through your application. So you can find bottlenecks with traces and see what is the path that request followed inside your application. And we actually have other types of telemetry data, but these three are the three main important ones that you have to remember. Let's zoom out a little bit and see general diagram that we need to have to make all of these things work together. So if you want to have observability for our application, this is the general diagram that we need. So we have our application, then we need a telemetry API to generate that telemetry data, and then having those telemetry data in hand, we're gonna need to send them somewhere to store them, right? In the simplest case, at least you need a database to store those data. The place that actually stores and processes these telemetry data is called telemetry backend. And once we got these data stored, now is the time to use that data. So we can access that data through an interface, which can be a user interface or a terminal or whatsoever. Here comes the challenge. We have different vendors as telemetry backend. Some of the examples which are open source are Hegger, Zipkin, and Prometheus. And we have commercial options like Datadog, Honeycomb, and etc. What problem actually this makes for our system? The problem that it makes is that this kind of leads to a vendor lock-in for our application, because every telemetry backend has its own telemetry API and they are not interchangeable. So when you bound your application to a specific telemetry API, let's say Hegger, then it will be hard to switch later to another telemetry backend. This is where OpenTelemetry comes in and solves this problem. Generally speaking, OpenTelemetry sits between the application and the telemetry backend. OpenTelemetry by itself is not a telemetry backend. Generally speaking, it collects the telemetry data from the application and then it exports it to the telemetry backend that you want. And the rest of the process is the same. Now let's zoom in to that OpenTelemetry section and see exactly what's going on there. Along to your application, you're gonna have some APIs and SDKs developed by OpenTelemetry for your own specific programming language and library that you are using. For example, if you're using Python and you're making a website in Django, then you can use the specific library that OpenTelemetry provides for Python and Django. So you instrument OpenTelemetry and then you start to generate telemetry data. This data is getting prepared and then is exported to a collector. This collector is also introduced by OpenTelemetry, which is called otel collector. So otel collector receives this data and then does some extra processing on that, and then it can export it to any telemetry backend that you want. So in this way, we break that vendor specific lock that we had previously. To summarize, OpenTelemetry is a vendor neutral observability framework for instrumenting, generating, collecting, and exporting telemetry data. It's industry standard and it's supported by more than 90 observability vendors. In the next videos, I'm gonna teach you how can you use OpenTelemetry to actually generate telemetry data in your Python applications and then connect them to multiple telemetry backends. Thank you so much, and please like and subscribe if you like this video.